Star Wars Outlaws is here and brings a fun and familiar look at Star Wars. But what does it change about the galaxy far, far away? And how Ahsoka's second season is a bad sign for the TV industry, but a huge piece of Star Wars' future. Welcome to Star Wars Uplink, your place for everything Star Wars gaming, the TV shows, and the movies. Let's jump in.
Just you reconsider playing that message for him.
So, we're a few hours into Star Wars Outlaws and really enjoying it. About probably 6 to 8 hours in.
Yeah, about that.
We're still on Toshara. We still haven't really opened up the galaxy yet. But I wanted to take the time and talk about, hey man, we've got a Star Wars video game.
Yeah.
It seems like that is, one, a momentous feat. And also, fewer and fewer have been announced since the opening up of the license outside of EA, which is funny. You think there would be this huge flood, but the video game industry has been changing and shifting. So there are various reasons why that is. But I want to talk about Star Wars Outlaws because I think it's a fun look at Star Wars from a different lens. We've only seen Star Wars in video games since Disney through the eyes of EA, and mostly through the eyes of Respawn in terms of the Jedi series. I'm really enjoying it so far.
Yeah, it's got a really nice taste to it. I don't know why that word comes to my head, but it does. For being kind of rough and rowdy, it's also kind of soft and subtle at the same time. I heard you talking to someone else about it, and you had said that it's what did you say? You said that it's more based on stealth. Like there's a lot more of a stealth and speed focus to the game. Yeah,
you're really focusing on being the stealthy. Unlike Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order, where you are stealthy in ways of like you don't want to draw attention to yourself in the galaxy. You don't necessarily you aren't rewarded for your stealth in the Star Wars Jedi games. Yeah. You are kind of empowered to just go in there, lightsabers ablazing, and kind of figure it out. Let your lightsaber speak for you in most cases. This game, you don't have that. You don't have that Jedi strength. You don't have the ability in the galaxy to really focus in that direction.
Yeah. There's just these like touching moments also in the game where I don't know what it is about it, but it has like a feminine touch to it.
Yes.
And I really appreciate that. I love comparing them side by side, Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order and this game.
Yes.
I love looking at them side by side because they feel very similar, especially Survivor. But
yeah, very similar vibes.
Also very different. Just with like how you're interacting with the world and what even your companion, like having this little furry guy, it's different. Like there's just a very different mentality around it, and it reminds me of a more feminine, more like intimate thing.
I like that because if you look at the Jedi series, you have Cal Kestis and his little droid buddy. And then on the opposite side, you have Kay Vess and her little creature buddy.
Yep.
So you have like this different perspective. It's the guy that works on cars and the girl that has a cat.
Yeah.
It's the perfect combination. And I really like that.
Yeah.
I think it's embodied too by how you upgrade Nyx and the ways that Nyx helps you.
Yeah.
It's the little food mini game. Like that is pure cozy games.
It's so sweet.
It feels really strange, but when you get into, I think mostly it's strange because it's kind of like a half-baked cutscene plus a mini game. Like it's not pure mini game, but it's not pure cutscene either.
Right.
But it takes a moment. It's a slow moment. You have to pay 200 credits for this. You have to sit there and focus. It's not like a quick little thing. It's going to be 1, 2, 3 minutes or maybe 5 minutes. Yeah. It's something that helps your character and also shows the bond between Kay Vess and Nyx. And I love that.
It also builds up this anxiety in me that's like, is anything going to happen to Nix? Because
if anything happens to Nix, I will get destroyed emotionally.
Yes. Do not destroy me, game. I cannot handle it at this point in time. You let me do cozy games, and now the stakes are high. The stakes are high.
Oh, yes. I also find it interesting to see how well Star Wars does with bounty hunting just as a medium, and how few times we see it. It's like, obviously Han Solo is one of the fan favorite characters in the original trilogy. People really like his portrayal of the smuggler that's rough around the edges but has a good heart. K-Vess is very Han Solo coded. This is gender bent Han Solo in many different ways.
Yeah.
I really like that perspective. It feels natural. It feels natural in Star Wars. And if you look at something like Mandalorian's a bounty hunter. We're introduced to him as a bounty hunter. And I feel like this is an almost like a tease on what really works for Star Wars. Like, you're either a Jedi or you're a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
I feel like those are the nuances of Star Wars these days. Obviously, you have Andor, which is kind of, I mean, he's introduced in the show as like a bounty hunter in terms of him helping on the planet. He is a hired gun for that job.
True.
So even in that regard, it works. And the ones that don't necessarily work is when Boba Fett's not a bounty hunter. Didn't really work all that well.
That's true.
And I feel like there is an interesting direction, and maybe we see more of this as we go forward. I just love to see this type of character, someone who is making ends meet by the only thing that they're good at, and it's bounty hunting. It's helping other people for pay, and it doesn't matter who those people are.
Yeah. It's interesting, especially with The Mandalorian. It seemed like it was very much focused on bring in people, whereas bounty hunting kind of is a very broad thing.
Yes,
it's very much like, I just need you to do something, and it doesn't even necessarily mean something dangerous. It just ends up being that way because it's easier to hire somebody who's going to be under the table than someone professional.
Why get your own hands dirty when you get someone else to do your dirty work?
Exactly. So I think it's good, and it's just an interesting thing because I don't know, for some reason with Mandalorian, I got like kind of brainwashed into thinking, no, it's only about taking in people and like this kind of thing, but no, it's not.
Yeah, it's the one thing I will say against Star Wars Outlaws, it's a lot of fetch quests.
Yeah.
But it's fine because the world works well and it's enjoyable going across the world. Ask me when I'm 40 hours in, but so far at 8 hours in, I'm really enjoying it. I also like how it shows more of the normal experience of Star Wars. Like, you aren't really making this galaxy-wide impact. It's a lot of personal exploration and impact. It's like you are part of a bigger picture. You're seeing all of these different pieces in terms of like the different factions and how they move underground in the galaxy. But you're not like, you're not really helping the Galactic Republic or the rebels or the Empire or anything. Like, you're just trying to make your way in the galaxy. Like, that is the pure Star Wars experience. Like, this is more what it looks like for the average person in Star Wars.
Yeah.
K-Vess isn't going to be like sneaking in to grab the Death Star plans.
Right.
This isn't a big piece of the puzzle. It's more of a personal experience, and I really like that. So I think Star Wars Outlaws works really well because of this deepening of the average experience in Star Wars. And it's not this, let's put all of the different characters in there. Obviously, they do the fan service thing. Lenda Calrissian's in it, as well as Kira from Solo. So you have this thing, Jabba the Hutt's mentioned many times. He's shown as like the symbol of the Hutt cartel, and it's key that he is there. But like, it doesn't make it the whole point. Like, it's not really highlighting these characters. In a lot of ways, I've seen some criticism on how they're implementing some of these characters. Like, you could kind of take them out of the game and nothing would change. So that makes it feel more like fan service. But so far, so good. It works. And unlike something like Mandalorian or Ahsoka, you have a lot more time to work with. So I think that helps a lot with this idea of like, it doesn't feel like fan service because they're only in there for like a small blip in the story.
Yeah. I think it's a nice little nod to like past Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really experienced many of those moments, just because you play it on and off when I'm around or not, especially with this one. But yeah, so I haven't really gotten a good feel for like if that feels like more fan service than anything.
Yeah.
But I like that they're not a huge part. Like it's just a little mention, a little nod. I think that's fine.
Yeah, I think it works.
Yeah.
On the topic of like Ahsoka, Mandalorian, and this stuff, we do have some Ahsoka season 2 news, and I think it opens up a bigger discussion when we look at the broader scopes of Star Wars. Also, those sounds that you hear are a baby, if you're listening to this wherever you find podcasts. Yes, little baby Uplink is here. Yeah, there's this bigger discussion here when we look at Ahsoka. Ahsoka is going to be the linchpin for the future of the Dave Filoni verse, I think that's how I'll put it, because he is kind of like the puppet master behind all of this. The Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni Mando verse type of Star Wars, and I think there is something that is going to change with Star Wars as we get deeper into this route, but only if how they make Star Wars TV shows changes. So what's going on here? Well, the actress for Sabine has said that season 2 is going to film in 2025. Oh. Wow. Oh. 2 years after this first season aired.
Dang.
So we probably won't see this until 2026. 3 years after the first season aired. And we're probably only going to get 8 episodes. And those 8 episodes are probably only going to be less than 45 minutes. And those 8 episodes aren't going to get us further into the story like we need it to, because there's only a limited amount of time in the Mandoverse time period before they have to start setting up like the First Order.
3 years. That's a long time. And aren't we getting Mando and Grogu like before that?
Yeah, so this isn't going to start filming until after The Mandalorian and Grogu.
That could be why we've just been hearing that Dave Filoni has just been taking his time like writing everything.
Well, apparently he's had some issues with the story itself and the script, so it's kind of been delayed in various points. And also, he was working on season 2's script, because that was confirmed shortly after the first season aired. He was working on that, and then in Star Wars Celebration in London, they decided that they were going to do the Mandalorian Grogu movie. So that's probably sidelined quite a bit in terms of his focus, which is why it is 2025. They're focused on Mandalorian Grogu, and that's a very important piece to Star Wars in terms of its future, because as we've talked about, Star Wars is movies, Star Wars isn't TV shows. And if you look at what they make money off of. And it's Disney, so that's what they care about.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what they're... Yeah. Right now, money is the thing, and money is movies. So
that's how you make the big bucks. And something like the Mandalorian Grogu movie, Mandalorian's huge. Of course, it's going to be successful. But they also need to make sure it's good. And also, it needs to set up stuff for The Mandalorian if they have a TV show. But definitely, they need to set up stuff for Ahsoka, because the big thing that they need to focus on, and it's going to be a real challenge, is they need to focus on making Thrawn the big bad, the bad guy they need for the future. They need to make him the Thanos of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because right now, in this time period, you have the rogue Imperials. You have the inner turmoil of the Galactic Republic, or the New Republic. You have these factions, these offshoots. The galaxy is in turmoil, and they're trying to find peace, and they're trying to find structure. But if you have someone like Thrawn, who is structure, I think that's where they need to take it.
I'm a little nervous with that statement, because already, if season 1 is any indication, they're gonna have to do a lot of work.
They do, because the real problem with season 1 is nothing really happened except now Thrawn is in the right galaxy. And how are they going to do split timelines in terms of like they're going to showcase Thrawn and his stuff, and or are they going to just focus on Ezra and the Republic? Are they just exclusively going to focus on Sabine and Ahsoka? Like, are they going to focus on that planet that they're on? Like, there's many different things that they just kind of left hanging. And nothing really moved forward. There wasn't much growth. There wasn't much development in terms of character. Obviously now Sabine can use the Force, and Ahsoka's like this wizened character who isn't actually wizened and just talks slowly now. Like, they have some real character development that they need to push forward. And I think the fact that they are only going to probably have 8 episodes, they're only probably going to be 45 minutes at max. Typically, if you look at Ahsoka, we look at like Acolyte, it's more like 25 minutes or 30 minutes after credits. Like, there isn't a whole lot to work with, and you can't tell a good story, and the budget's going to be big, and they're going to have high expectations for it because they need to set up Thrawn, and like the worst parts of streaming are coming out with Disney Plus.
Yeah. Why did they stick to this format of short episodes, few of them for one season? Like, it doesn't really make
and then
sense.
A massive amount of time in between those seasons.
Yeah, it's like we didn't give it. What are you doing with all this time? Also, if you have all this time, why aren't we getting a good story? Like, why aren't we like chipping away some of the excess? And I don't know.
They want to stretch out the time period. Obviously, Dave Filoni is enjoying the exploration into this side of the universe. They had massive success with Mandalorian, and they have been kind of chasing that ever since. And now we see Ahsoka, which is Dave Filoni's baby. He just wants her to be on screen as much as possible and not really move stuff forward. And you really have to tear down a character to build them up. And that hasn't happened yet.
They almost need like a part 1, part 2 of a season.
Yeah, I mean, separate it. Like, if we have 8 episodes and then that's season 1, part 1, and then we have another episodes, which is season 2, part 2.
Right.
But the problem is, like, early on they said there won't be any cliffhangers because we don't want to do that. But now we have like Acolyte, and we have Obi-Wan to a point. We have Solo, a Star Wars story. Like, we have these key pieces that they tried to set up cliffhangers, and well, we see how that went.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I mean, one of the issues for me for Ahsoka is that there are just so many characters. There's just so much that is,
and they're not there for a reason, really.
Yeah. There's just, it makes things really busy. It makes there to be a lot of stories, a lot of character arcs that we would like to, I assume, see. Yeah, and this is not the amount of time we need for all these characters to have their time to shine it's not enough. Not enough.
So yeah, we've got season 2. It's going to be after Mandalorian Grogu has finished filming. 2026 is when the Mandalorian Grogu movie is going to be released because it's that first time slot. And we're probably only going to have 8 episodes, and it's going to be 3-year wait times in between seasons, and episodes are probably going to be short. And also, Ahsoka season 2 has a ton that it needs to do.
Yeah, I mean, let's break it down. They need to, I assume, get Ahsoka and Sabine actually working well together. They need to get back somehow. I'm assuming we're going to solve something about this planet that they're on. Other than that, we've got Thrawn here, who needs to be a better character, more built up. Also, he's got some master plan with the witches thing. We don't know what's going on there, so that needs a story. We've got Ezra and Hera and all of them. What are they doing? What's going on there? Who is Ezra now? Like, since he's been gone for how many years? Yeah. Hera and her son. Her son's got some talent. Is that a thing? Is that something we're going to address this time around? What's going on here? Is there going to be another more mentioning of Kanan, of him? What are we doing about him? I don't know. There's so much. There's so much, especially bringing back all of these Rebels characters. We all want to see them.
Mm-hmm. Also, Rebels worked really well because they had 4 seasons of anywhere from 16 to 26 episodes. Mm-hmm. And that is how stories should be told. Yes, those episodes were shorter. They were around 22 minutes or so. But if you add them all up, a season had much more time to work with. They could chapter it out a lot better than they have in the live action shows. And I hope that Dave Filoni has learned a lot from his time working on Ahsoka, because he was the showrunner as well as the writer and director of certain episodes. And you learn a lot just from doing. So I hope that he's learned a lot, because we know from the Clone Wars and we know from Rebels that he is a good storyteller. But he's not a good storyteller when he only has 8 episodes to work with and a limited amount of time in those 8 episodes.
And probably a massive budget.
So much more budget than he ever got in the Clone Wars or Rebels.
Yeah. And we've discussed this before. That's a problem. Like, that tends to make these things overblown.
Yeah, and they need to be safer because they need to make their money back, and they need to be shorter so they can make the budget look good on each of the episodes. But like, if you look at House of the Dragon, you can see the budget there. If you look at Acolyte, which had a very similar budget, I think maybe even more, same episode count, longer episodes though, that show looks so much better than Acolyte does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, House of the Dragon does. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Disney Star Wars has got a lot to figure out.
Definitely.
They need to find the balance, but also maybe lean more towards, I don't know, good story, maybe good storytelling.
Let's hope so. I would love to see fewer, a smaller budget, longer episodes. Even if they keep with the 8, I would prefer longer episodes and more episodes. Mm-hmm. And make it a TV show budget. Don't make it a movie.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the budget of Acolyte, close to $200 million, that's a movie. That's actually more money than they spent on the production of Oppenheimer.
Wow.
So they need a lot of work here, but there's a lot riding on Ahsoka Season 2. I'm excited to see what it is, but it's going to be a while before we get it, and I think that's a shame. But let us know your thoughts on Star Wars Outlaws. We'd love to hear that. What have your expectations and kind of experience has been with that? Did you actually end up getting it? Right now I'm paying for stupid Ubisoft Plus because I don't trust Ubisoft. So I wanted to make sure that I enjoyed the game before I dropped ungodly amounts of money on it, because this game is expensive. Also, let us know what you expect to see in Ahsoka Season 2. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well. Let us know in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube, or contact uplinkpodcast.com if you're listening to this wherever you find podcasts. As always, thank you for listening, and may the Force be with you.